Making news today. Just resigned Mayor John Tory oversees Budget Day for the City of Toronto. We'll have the details. Also, it might be hard to get around the GTA thanks to a long list of construction closures, but easier to get around on public transit as Metrolinx announces several train schedule updates. Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, February 15th. I'm Myrna Toney. Our top story, Toronto police have announced the latest in their efforts to address the spike of pharmacy robberies across the GTA. Cale Blackburn with more on the story.
Thank you, Myrna. Toronto police have made 10 arrests in connection with 26 pharmacy robberies that took place from December 22 to February of this year. In an announcement this morning, Inspector Richard Harris of the Toronto Hold-Up Squad released the details of the investigation dubbed Project Mayhem. The investigation took place across jurisdictions and involved Peel, Halton, and York police. Last year, Toronto saw 124 robberies in total, the highest number on record. Toronto police expressed their concern over the high volume of violent robberies as well as the high level of involvement from youth. Of those arrested in the robberies, 67% were young people, and 6 of the 10 arrests in connection with Project Mayhem were under 18, 2 of which were under the age of 14.
We know there are older people involved in organizing these crimes who are making it very lucrative for the young persons to get involved. To parents, caregivers, guardians, I urge that you check in with your children, for lack of a better term. Ensure that you know what they are up to. Question them and challenge them if they're in possession of large quantities of money and, of course, prescription narcotics.
Police say that the motivation behind the crimes is the lucrative street market for narcotics. Stolen Oxycontin, Percocets, and fentanyl can go for as much as $60 a pill. While police say no major injuries have occurred due to the robberies, instances such as the recent robbery in Oakville involve pharmacy staff being pushed and grabbed violently. Toronto police are visiting pharmacies to discuss safety tips and prevention strategies. There will also be a virtual town hall meeting this evening between police and area pharmacists. Back to you, Myrna.
Thank you, Cale. All eyes today on the City of Toronto, where it has been a difficult day in the City Hall chambers. This is Budget Day and protesters have disrupted proceedings 3 times so far. Also adding to the controversy, newly resigned Mayor John Tory has been in attendance today. Tory announced on Friday he would be stepping down after admitting an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. His office has said since then he would stay on to his budget debated today. It's unclear if this is the reason protesters keep disturbing the proceedings. A major boost for Ontario's manufacturing industry. Ontario-based Magna International will invest over $470 million to expand its operations across Ontario as the shift to electric vehicles continues. The investment will add close to 1,000 jobs in Ontario and will include a new battery enclosures facility in Brampton. The Premier made the announcement this morning with Economic Development Minister Vic Fedeli.
This significant investment includes a $265 million EV battery enclosure facility, which will strengthen Ontario's end-to-end electric vehicle supply chain and add more than 500 new jobs right here in Brampton. It also includes investments in hundreds of additional new jobs in other communities, including Guelph, Windsor, Belleville, Newmarket, and other regions across Ontario.
5 other Ontario plants will benefit from the investment. The Magna plant in Guelph will expand to support new EV car production. Expanded operations are also planned in Belleville, Newmarket, Penetanguishene, and Windsor. Also from the provincial government today, Ontario's finance minister updated Ontarians on the province's 3rd quarter financial report. Despite ongoing global conflict, high inflation, rising interest rates, and supply chain issues, Ontario's economy did grow slightly in the third quarter of 2022, but that is about to change.
After unprecedented investments in response to the pandemic, now is the time for governments to show restraint, to act cautiously and responsibly. I've had the privilege of traveling right across this province the last few weeks and witnessed the remarkable strength and resolve of the people of Ontario.
The pace of Ontario's economic growth is projected to slow sharply to 0.5% this year. Household spending is expected to drop, and the housing market is expected to further weaken. We continue to experience a highly unusual February. Weather-wise, yesterday we broke the warmest temperature on record since 1984. Today we could break a second record with even warmer temperatures expected. But the warmer weather comes with a warning from Environment Canada for Burlington-Oakville. Heavy winds could continue throughout the day into the late night hours. While temperatures are soaring into the low to mid double digits today, winds are reaching highs up to 90 kilometers an hour. Watch for fallen branches or loose objects if you are outside today. Now, time for a look at today and tomorrow's weather. Right now, conditions outside of our Sheridan College News studios in Oakville are partly cloudy and windy. It is currently 14 degrees but feels like 8 degrees due to wind. For today, there is a 20% chance of rain. The high today is 14 degrees and will drop to a low of just 7 degrees later tonight, but will feel like 2 degrees. Tomorrow morning, expect a mix of sun and clouds as well as a 20% chance of rain. The temperature will be 2 degrees but feel like -1. Later on in the show, you can expect a complete 5-day forecast. 3 international students are dead and 1 is in critical condition after a violent car crash. The crash occurred just last night around 11 p.m. on Highway 427 and Dundas Street southbound. Collision reconstructionists say the cause of the crash is due to high rates of speed. Provincial police have identified the 3 victims as a 20-year-old male, 20-year-old female, and 17-year-old male. The driver is a 21-year-old male and currently remains in hospital. OPP Sergeant Carrie Schmidt says names will not be released at this time. The Halton District School Board is meeting tonight to discuss the controversial teacher dress code agenda. The dress code controversy began after a photo of a gender transitioning teacher from Oakville Trafalgar High School wearing large prosthetic breasts inside the classroom went viral on social media last September. After the incident, the academic year at Oakville Trafalgar High School was largely overshadowed by protests, letters from parents criticizing the event, petitions, and a series of anonymous bomb threats against education officials. After tonight's meeting, Director of Education Curtis Ennis is expected to provide an interim update on the case. Catching vehicles will soon become a lot easier for police. The OPP's Aurelia Division has deployed a new equipment to make this happen. The new technology allows police to scan and identify license plates and will allow officers to identify whether vehicles are suspicious or not. This can range from invalid license plates to stolen vehicles. The new equipment is part of a province-wide rollout, the hope being that police can better track which vehicles should and should not be on the road. GO Transit is making schedule changes on some train lines starting Tuesday, February 21st. The changes will affect riders on the Lakeshore West, Lakeshore East, Barrie, Kitchener, Milton, and Stouffville lines. GO Transit says in a statement published on the company's website that they adjust their train schedules to provide more consistent departure times and ask for the riders to check their schedules before they travel to make sure they get to their platform at the right time. All the train schedule changes can be found in detail on the GO Transit website. Remember to plan your trip before you are on the road, as the Ministry of Transportation scheduled 12 closures in Toronto for road work on Highway 400, 401, and 404 starting today. While most of the roadworks are planned to be completed today or tomorrow evening on Highway 401 eastbound between Warden Avenue and Nielsen Road and westbound express between Nielsen Road and McCowan Road will finish at 5 p.m. on Friday. Roadwork on Highway 404 northbound between Steeles Avenue and John Street is planned to be completed on Saturday evening. Time now for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll see how the Canadian, Turkish, and Syrian communities are helping the victims of the devastating earthquake. Children's hospitals are asking for funding. Children's hospitals in Canada are requesting a $371 million fund to help fix pediatric care. The hospitals say that children's health care in Ontario has reached a dire point, with many children waiting for clinical care for long amounts of time. The request comes after Ottawa announced a new budget deal to provinces on federal health care funding. It involves a $2 billion boost for provinces and territories to utilize. Using the funding for pediatric care is recommended by Parliament. Norovirus cases are rising across Canada. The Public Health Agency of Canada says cases have been increasing both at the national level and within several provinces, including British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland and Labrador. Norovirus, commonly known as the winter vomiting bug, is a virus that causes sickness and diarrhea. Other symptoms include a headache, aching arms and legs, and a high temperature. PHAC has not yet released any hard data on the cases, as the figures from the provinces are not yet complete. Ottawa has announced that it is cutting funds with research involving the Chinese military. This comes after the innovative minister Francois-Philippe Champagne announced that a new policy to protect Canadian research from hostile states is to be implemented. This comes out in light of the revelation of close collaboration between Canadian universities and Chinese military institutions, particularly with China's National University of Defense Technology. Mr. Champagne stated that the new policy is to be introduced as soon as possible. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau heads to the Bahamas to attend the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting. The main topic is going to focus on the security crisis in Haiti, but other topics are still on the table. Climate change, food insecurity, and migration are all expected to feature. Trudeau's visit to Canada's return to Caribbean political affairs. The last Canadian Prime Minister to attend was Stephen Harper in 2007. A statement from Trudeau's office stated that he hopes to find a Haitian-led solution. January home sales are down 37% compared to last year. The Canadian Real Estate Association announced that month-by-month sales were also down 3% from December. The last time January home sales were this low was 2009, a 14-year low. Newly listed homes are up 3.3%, but rising mortgage rates and increased cost of borrowing has made the process difficult for buyers. Sales lowered in Greater Vancouver, Victoria, Vancouver Island, Calgary, Edmonton, and Montreal. These losses offset the gains in Hamilton and Quebec City. Over the past year, Canadians have been recorded levels of inflation. Across 2022, the inflation rate averaged 6.9%, the highest it has been since 1982. Prices rose across the board, but Canadians with more on the story.
Food prices are the highest they've been in over 40 years. Over the last 5 months, the inflation rate for food has stood around 11%. According to Canada's Food Price Report, it is predicted that an average family of 4 will spend upwards of $1,000 more on groceries than they did last year. With major retailers like Loblaws ending their holiday price freeze for certain goods under the No Name brand, the inflated costs may be pushing some Canadians towards food insecurity.
Food insecurity is when people do not have enough food to eat, and then that's enough nutritional, culturally appropriate food. Generally speaking, what we're talking about in recent times is the inability to pay for food and access food because of rapidly rising food prices.
According to a report by Second Harvest, a national food rescue organization, it is estimated that there will be a 60% increase in Canadians accessing food banks in 2023. Second Harvest reportedly served over 5 million people per month last year, a stark increase from pre-pandemic numbers where they only served slightly more than 2 million a year. Food Banks Canada says there has been over a 7% increase in students accessing food banks over the last year. The increased prices are forcing some to change how they shop for their food.
I would say that food inflation costs have affected me by limiting the amount of purchases, amount of groceries that I can make every trip that I go. I can't buy the snacks that I want to anymore and usually have to just focus on the protein and maybe treat myself, which is, maybe it's kind of good, teach me a little responsibility, but it's overall not allowing me to get as much as I would like.
For Sheridan students experiencing food insecurity, there are resources available. Students can reach out to an advisor to access the Food First program, offered through Sheridan Student Union. If it is determined you need support, they will give an electronic grocery card for those to be used at a variety of stores. For the Sheridan Sun, I'm Cale Blackburn.
Egg prices are still going up at the grocery store. This is caused by the dropping egg supply in Canada, the US, and other countries. The reason behind the egg shortage is avian influenza. An extraordinary bird flu outbreak has killed over 7 million birds at egg and poultry farms in Canada and almost 60 million in the US. As a result, egg prices increased by nearly 25% in Canada just in 1 year. The average cost of a dozen eggs in Canadian grocery stores was $3.62 in 2021, rising to $4.45 in January 2023. This rise in egg prices also makes an impact on social media. Under the eggflation hashtag on Twitter, people share sarcastic content and images that eggs are now classified as luxury consumption. As the price of eggs continues to soar, U.S. border officials are seeking a spike in egg smuggling from Mexico. The director of field operations warns trying to cross with uncooked eggs without informing a border official is illegal and could up to $10,000. On the other hand, the egg shortage is also creating new business ideas. The company Rent the Chicken, serving in Canada and the USA, announced that it accepts Rent the Chicken and Hatch the Chicken reservations for 2023. But those who want to produce their own eggs, the company provides rental chickens as well as a portable chicken coop, 2 to 4 egg-laying hens, 100 to 200 pounds of feed, and other supplies. The company promises that the hens will start laying eggs 2 days after they arrive. Now we will have a look at how the Turkish and Syrian communities in Canada are supporting the victims of the deadly earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria on the 6th of February. Dahlia has been following their efforts closely.
Canada has announced providing $10 million in humanitarian aid to Turkey and Syria in the wake of the Kahraman earthquake that killed more than 40,000 people and displaced hundreds of thousands in both countries. Turkish and Syrian communities in Canada are also stepping up emergency assistance efforts in response to the deadly earthquake. Here inside the Halton Islamic Association in Burlington, the Canadian Syrian community is mobilizing donations to help victims affected by the earthquake in northern Syria.
Lots of people have been displaced after the earthquake. They don't have shelter. It's very cold, and we need to keep these people warm.
Yashin, who owns a pizza store, decided to use her shop as a donation station. She says she is accepting all kinds of donations to help those impacted by the earthquake in Turkey.
All the help we can get, from diapers to blankets to tents, anything, clothing, jackets, anything you can give, it means so much to the people.
The number of deaths is rising every day, and the destruction is vast. Humanitarian aid is urgently needed in all affected areas in Turkey and Syria.
We started our campaign on the same day, on 6th of February. We've been collecting the most urgent items ever since, and we had 2 warehouses in Mississauga and North York.
In a massive race against time, communities are rushing to collect blankets, winter coats, sleeping bags, tents, and canned food to send to the affected areas.
Some days we are in tears because people are so generous, so kind, and we feel their sincere solidarity. So apart from this huge tragedy, I'm so grateful to see this solidarity here.
For the Sheridan Sun, I am Dahlia Sibe.
Nicola Sturgeon announces her intention to resign as Scotland's first Prime Minister after more than 8 years in the role. Sturgeon, also the leader of the Scottish National Party, declared her resigning decision at a press conference in Edinburgh. Sturgeon said she had wrestled with the decision for weeks, ultimately deciding that someone else would be better suited to the relentless pressure of the job. Nicola Sturgeon is the longest-serving First Minister and the first woman to hold the position. She will stay in office until a new SNP leader is appointed. Dozens of people remain stranded atop their homes after a cyclone hit New Zealand. Cyclone Gabrielle struck the country's northern coast on Monday, the destruction being called the largest in the country's history. At least 4 people are confirmed to have died, including 1 child. The fatalities were all on a bay in North Island's east coast. Authorities expect to make the final rescues on Wednesday. Time now for a break, but when we come back, Ryan Reynolds joins the Toronto area real estate group in a bid to purchase the NHL franchise. More on that when we come back. Welcome back. Time now for a look at entertainment with Sam Smith. Sam?
Thank you, Myrna. The movie director Todd Phillips revealed his upcoming sequel to Joker 2019, which is starring Lady Gaga as the Joker's partner in crime, Harley Quinn. Todd shared in his Valentine's Day Instagram post a first look at Gaga's character in the film. When asked how to describe the movie, Gaga described it as more of a musical than as opposed to a thriller. The DC movie landscape has been changing a lot recently, but Todd confirmed that this movie won't be a part of the DC universe. Joker is its own story. The movie will be released October 9th of 2024, which is exactly 5 years to the day after the original release. Local residents have been anticipating the return of the Taste of Oakville Food Festival, which is running from today to March 10th. For over 30 restaurants are taking a part in this event as well. But food isn't the only thing to be excited about this year. Executive director of the event, Rebecca Edgar, shared that the event will feature local musicians and talent from every corner of the Oakville area. This will be the 3rd year that the event has spanned all of Oakville, including restaurants from downtown Oakville, Bronte Village, and North Oakville. The province of Nova Scotia has seen tons of movies and ongoing shows coming out of the province recently, but the regional government has made efforts recently to increase tourism in the area. The idea of going somewhere that is part of a make-believe world is an exciting and engaging prospect. Recent months have seen a big increase in tourism directly related to on-location production sets, meaning if tourism continues at this rate, then movie productions may have a larger influence over travel than we might have thought. And finally, Winnie the Pooh was released into the public domain as of last year, but instead of eating honey with his friends like usual, we get to see Pooh and Piglet murder innocent teenagers as serial killers in the upcoming Winnie the Pooh movie, Blood and Honey. With Pooh taking a drastic and abrupt change in creative direction, people have started to wonder if this is a shameless cash grab or a glimpse into what future copyright-free characters will be starring in, those including Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, and Batman among some others. The micro-budget R-rated slasher will be in theaters early next year. And that's it for our entertainment news, and let's take a look at sports with Jed.
Thank you, Sam. The Canadian women's soccer team is currently locked in a labor dispute with Canada Soccer over the way the governing body treats the women's team in comparison to the men's team. The players contended that Canada Soccer have failed to provide the same resources in their preparation for the Women's World Cup this summer that the men's team had in the lead-up to the Men's World Cup last year. They announced that they would boycott all Canada Soccer activities until the dispute was settled, but were forced to return to training after Canada Soccer threatened legal action. The team has said that they're looking for equality and transparency, and that they'll continue to fight for everything they deserve. FIFA, the governing body of soccer, have made it official that the co-hosts of the 2026 World Cup are automatically qualified. Canada, Mexico, and the US are co-hosting the tournament, which will see an expansion from 32 teams to 48. It will be Canada's first time hosting the Men's World Cup, and third appearance overall, having also been at the World Cup in 1986 and 2022. Canada are providing 2 host cities for the tournament in Vancouver and Toronto, and will host a total of 10 games. The Toronto Maple Leafs are hosting the Chicago Blackhawks tonight at Scotiabank Arena. Austin Matthews is returning to the roster after missing a couple of weeks due to a knee sprain. The Leafs have lost 3 of their last 5 games and are now sitting in third in the Atlantic Division. The puck drops at 7 p.m. Tiger Woods is returning to competitive golf on Thursday as the first round of the Genesis Invitational that's underway at Riviera Country Club in Los Angeles, California. It will be Woods' first tournament playing without a putt since last year's Open Championship. It will also be his first PGA Tour event since 2020. The 15-time major championship winner is hosting the Invitational Tournament, and all proceeds from the event will go to his foundation. Woods will play alongside the likes of Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas. And finally, in the world of hockey, Ryan Reynolds has teamed up with the Remington Group, a real estate company based in Vaughan, in a bid to buy the Ottawa Senators. The Canadian actor already co-owns Welsh soccer club Wrexham FC, which he bought alongside fellow actor Rob McElhenney in November 2020. The Senators, who are valued at $655 million, officially began the process for selling the franchise on Tuesday. They are currently second from the bottom in the Eastern Conference standings. That's it for sports. Now back over to Myrna for the weather.
Time now for a look at the 5-day forecast. On Thursday, conditions will be cloudy with rain. The high will be 4 degrees with a low of 0 degrees, as well as a 70% chance of rain. On Friday, conditions will be sunny with a 40% chance of light snow. The high will be 0 degrees with a low of -9. For Saturday, conditions will be mainly sunny with a 20% chance of rain. The high will be 4 degrees with a low of -8. On Sunday, you can expect a 30% chance of rain with mainly cloudy conditions. The high will be 6 degrees with a low of -1. Monday will remain mainly cloudy with a 30% chance of rain as well. The high will be 5 degrees and drop to a low of -2 later that night. It's time to celebrate the illustrious hippopotamus. Wednesday, February 15th is World Hippo Day. The day brings awareness to these vulnerable giants, which are the third largest land mammal in the world. Hippos can weigh up to 3,000 pounds. In 2006, the International Union for Conservation of Nature listed them as vulnerable. Hippo numbers have been declining due to poaching and the loss of habitat. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, hippos primarily live in and near rivers, lakes, and swamps. Despite this, they don't actually swim. They walk or run along the riverbed. Here are some fun facts about hippos. They can hold their breath underwater for 5 minutes, and hippos actually secrete their very own sunscreen. Their bodies produce an oily reddish slime that protects them from ultraviolet rays and bacteria. That's all for your Wednesday, February 15th. For the Sheridan Sun, I'm Myrna Toney. Thanks for watching.